Hello, Ken. How are you this fantastic evening?
Ah, Dan, I'm doing great. How are you, my friend?
Your mind looks hungry. I think you need to feed it. What is this all about?
Well, Dan, this is all about what we put in and what we get out, right? I think there's such a focus in terms of health on our bodies and the kind of food that we consume and the kind of exercise that we do. And I know we talk a bit about what we consume with our minds, but I don't think we talk about it enough, and I don't think we pay enough attention to it in our daily lives. We just finished watching the second season of Ted Lasso, and man, I can't highly recommend that enough. It's one of the most uplifting shows I've ever seen, with characters I cared about. I laughed, I cried, I had a great time. And it sounds cliche, but it was just one of the most delightful things I've seen. We looked forward to it. We had to just ration it out because we knew there were only two seasons right now. Third season's not going to be out till July of 2022. And we wanted to stretch it out as much as we possibly could. But it got me thinking that, on the evenings that I watched a show like that, I went to bed feeling happy. I just felt good. I felt positive. I felt that there was hope. And I get that it's all made up. It's a TV show, but it was still something that I nourished my mind with. It was something that I fed my mind. And particularly in the evening, particularly before bed, I think we got to pay attention to the stuff that we're putting in. And I contrast that to some of the other things that I've watched as of late that are a bit darker, that are violent, and they're just disturbing to me. And I think that, as we progress to the end of this year, really, it feels like the end of kind of a long 2-year period with COVID and with political unrest and uh, climate issues and all sorts of things going on in our lives. Man, whatever we can do to feed ourselves positive stuff is going to be essential as we start to think about what the new year is going to bring. And we're coming up on it. Thanksgiving's coming up in a few days. And before we know it, the holidays will be here, the Christmas holidays will be here, and it'll be the new year. And like most people, we want to set some sort of a resolution for the new year. We want to think about who we want to become, what we want to contribute, what we want to do, how we want the new year to be different, what we can do to really express the gifts that we've been given. And I think a huge part of that, besides our health and wellness physically, is our health and wellness mentally. And for me, that depends so heavily on what I feed my mind.
Welcome to Siskel and Ebert, Rotten Tomatoes. No, this is Moses in the CIA. I just noticed something. So, congratulations, Ken. We did our first episode on October 18th, 2020. So, happy 1 year anniversary. Today is the 21st of November. We're well past that. We're killing it. We're in 1 year, 1 month, and 2 days, 3 days past. So we are killing it. So congratulations on going so long and doing this podcast. It is great. No, I think it's super important what we feed our mind. I notice it each and every day, that it can be as simple as what I do first thing in the morning. And so that's where my mind goes, is how do you start your mind in the morning, right? Do you immediately, which I do and I'm guilty of many, many times, grabbing my phone and reading text messages or emails and things like that? And what I know I should do, because it's better for my mind, is to do my morning routine, which includes much better things for my mind. I have a morning session. It's kind of like meditation or incantations, things like that I have on that are recorded with some nice music that kind of fill my mind with positive statements positive visualization things that like really set me off in the right direction. But I noticed the difference when I feed my mind with something that's urgent because somebody texted me or emailed me while I was sleeping. And that's the first thing I wake up to. I can't get that out of my mind. I've fed my mind early with something that now, even if I then go to my morning routine, what's lingering there is a feeling that I have something that I need to do. Right. So, in feeding your mind, to me, one of the most important things is starting off strong. Like, start your day strong with feeding it with something nourishing that is going to fuel your day, get you ready for the day ahead. And that can be as simple as something like writing in a journal, right? Like maybe writing down, like, these are my big things that I want to get accomplished today. It could be reading some nice thing. It could be if you read the Bible or something else, right, that aligns with your religious beliefs. That could be great. It could be looking at a vision board or imagining like what you want to happen. There's just many ways, but I think the most important part of feeding your mind is starting your day strong with something that's going to like set you off in the right direction and get your mind right and nourishes you for the remainder of that day.
Happy anniversary to you too, Dan. This is one of the longest relationships I've had next to my husband. So yay. Uh, there's two things I'm thinking of as you were talking. First, on the anniversary piece, and we do these recordings Sunday evenings generally, and I look forward to them for two reasons. I posted on social media this week that we always try to do something that would contribute value and that would be uplifting. That's really our goal, is to give some bit of value and to just uplift people. But the third reason is, like, I genuinely enjoy spending time with Dan. I like him. He's a good guy. And I love that I wind my weekend down and basically start my week up on a Sunday night with a person who I consider a friend and who inspires me and who supports me and uplifts me. And so, if you're lucky enough to have a good friend out there that you can talk to on a regular basis, man, avail yourself of that, because that's part of filling your mind with good stuff. The second thing is the morning routine. I have a 68-pound boxer named Dustin who loves to shove his face in mine right about 5:30 a.m. And if you have a boxer or any of those short snouted dogs, you know that their sneeze are kind of clearing their throat. Just it's awesome, man. It's a shower. And he'll do that and jump up on the bed and basically waterboard me with his tongue. And you can't be mad. You just can't. You can't be anything but happy when you've got a dog who's just wiggling and so thrilled to see you, and the sun's coming up and you're there and he's there. He can't think of anything better. It's like a dog's life, right? It's the happiest moment in their life, which is like every moment. And we go for a 20-minute walk together. And now here in Phoenix, it's actually cold in the morning, in the 50s. That's cold for us. And I have some of what you were talking about, Dan. I have positive things that I say, that I repeat to myself as I'm walking. I reflect on the day past. I think about what's coming up. I frame the day for how I want it to be. And I use that as kind of prayer and meditation time while I'm with my best little furry friend, who's just continuing to look back at me with this big smile on his face. And so when I get back, we've got coffee on, and Bob and I sit down with no devices whatsoever. We don't do any electronic stuff in advance of our coffee time. And I've talked about this before. It is a key to our 27-year and counting marriage. We take half an hour every morning for coffee together, just with music in the background. That's it. And it's us, the dog, a cup of coffee, second cup of coffee now that Bob's retired from teaching. And that time sets the tone for the day. I get to spend it with the person that I love, with the person that I'm committed to. We sometimes talk about goofy things. Sometimes we talk about really serious and important things, but it's just our time. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to have some time in the morning like that, even if it's not a half hour, maybe it's just 10 minutes that you can grab with your spouse or significant other or one of your children, or if you're single, just, with yourself, if you've got a pet, whatever it happens to be, if you can just take some time initially at the outset of the day to set yourself up for the way you want that day to be and to get your mind set right, it will shift everything. And I know this from practice, from years of practice. On those days where something happens where I'm thrown, I might get a call that's an urgent matter I need to deal with, and my prayer meditation time gets thrown off. The rest of the day is sort of like a controlled train wreck. And so I know that it works from personal experience, and I so highly recommend what we're talking about. Set your day right at the outset. Don't make looking at your email or your text or listening to phone messages your first thing. Make you your priority.
The Social Dilemma. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. One of my children asked me if the time I spend seemingly every week with Ken doing these podcasts, if I'm making money off of it. And I had to process it for a second, because the truth is, no, we're not making money from just this podcast itself. But when I think back, what I'm really doing is exactly the topic we're talking about here. I am feeding my mind with a topic that we're discussing that forces me, that I choose to then process and like dig deeper on and think about and reflect on my experiences from. And then I'm able to then tell stories or give examples that not only are meant to encourage the people listening, but also to remind myself of the things that I once knew, or the things that I need to work on, maybe my blind spots that I now bring to the forefront and go, you know what, that's something I need to recommit to or do more of. So I think about social media, and even like the tools we have here. We're going to post this on YouTube. We're going to post this, on all the podcasting platforms. And I like the fact that we're not just consumers, but we're creators, right? That we are creating content. So not only are we filling our minds up with information from our memories and from our experiences, but then we're creating content. We're putting it out there and sharing it with other people. And to me, like, that's fulfilling. And what it also does for me, which is really important, is just the nature of going through the process of making this every week. It gets my mind in a rhythm. It's almost like brain training, right? Where my mind gets in this pattern where if I'm in an interview, for a podcast, another podcast, maybe somebody's interviewing me on, if a company is considering hiring me, I'm going through like a process of consideration, like an interview process. I've already trained my brain. I fed my mind with this skill set, right? With this ability to hear something and then quickly process and go through my memory bank and then come back with information that sounds like it was put together and well prepared, when in fact, we're not spending the time. We don't even know the topic typically until just before we hit record and get going with this. So when I say the social dilemma, one of the things I challenge you on is to look at, if you use your phone for that, which most people do, is look at how much time you spend on social media. And that includes stuff like YouTube, or it includes listening to podcasts or other social media platforms. You know what they are. And see how much time you spend on them, and ask yourself, is this feeding your mind with things that actually make your life better, that moves you in the direction of the things you want, versus maybe add stress? Before we started this conversation tonight, Ken and I were just talking about shows, and I was commenting on, I won't say what they are, but certain shows literally add stress to my life. Literally, by consuming this show, I start to worry for these made up characters. I start to think, oh my gosh, what should they do? How will they get out of this? Oh my goodness. I noticed my little nervous tics that I have. Like I might like pick at my eyebrow or pick at my beard. These little things that I would do if I was concerned about something. I'm doing it for them. a fake character that I chose to watch, right? And I think, is that a good use of my time? And I'll say sometimes, sure, for the variety, for the entertainment, do it. But just be aware of how much time you're doing it. And be aware if that is actually helping achieve something like entertainment or enjoyment or variety, or if it becomes a pattern that leads you down a path that's not moving you closer to what you ultimately want.
So I want to address the fact that you and I, we don't prepare as such. We talk about various things that are up for us in our lives, and then we just go. And I liken it to what happens during my my French lessons that I have twice a week with an instructor in France. And he'll ask me things that I'm not prepared to talk about. But what it forces me to do is to dig deep. And it actually forces me to just draw from this well of knowledge that I have and create and construct sentences and actually carve new neural pathways. It's healthy for my mind. It actually, learning a foreign language can actually help stave off things like Alzheimer's and other memory and brain disorders. And so I do it because I love the language and I love learning languages. I speak German as well, and do my best in English. But I'm learning it because I know it's also feeding me, and it's forcing me to think. And just like when Dan and I get together and talk about a topic, it's forcing us to dig deep and to think about things that we've done in our coaching work, things that we've done in our consulting work, things that we've read, other things that we've consumed, stuff that maybe we've talked about before, and to put that together in such a way that we can present a cohesive program every week. And what that leads me to is think about ways you can be a creator. We get so focused on, what can I get? How much can I get paid? Can I book this next job? Can I get? And there's a great phrase I learned from a guy that I worked with in the public speaking realm, and he talked about being a go-giver. Like, what can you do to give? What can you do to really give? And I would just urge everyone who's listening to this, think about yourself as a creator. What can you do? It doesn't have to be grand. It could be like, you know what? I play the guitar. I can play a song. I can create some music today, maybe for my family, and do something like that. Maybe I've got a friend who plays a little ukulele, posts it up on YouTube. Just he wants to give something. It's like maybe somebody likes ukulele and they might like my music. Think about ways that you can create and ways that you can contribute, because that's going to be an amazing contribution to your mind too. You're not directly consuming that stuff except to be able to give it back. But it's in that giving that you're going to be edified yourself.
So Ken and I are approaching another milestone. It is almost 2 years since we met. I remember because it was my son's birthday. I went skiing right before the event that Ken and I went to, the same event where we met each other. That was on December 7th, was I went skiing. So I think it was around like December 8th or 9th. So, and I believe that was 2 years ago. I think that's correct. So, so we're approaching 2 years, which is incredible. But I want to point this out because everybody knows it, but not many people pay attention to this. You become like the people you hang around. And when Ken and I first met, we noticed a lot of like connection in the sense that like we were both striving for the same thing. We met at an event where we were working on the exact same thing. So we said to each other, let's hold each other accountable. So we literally, for the first year before we started this podcast, we still met every week, but for a different purpose. Instead of being like a lot of people, pity parties, right? Like, let me go around the water cooler per se and tell each other how bad things are and like, feel bad for each other. We literally were encouraging each other. We were coaching each other. We literally just set outcomes. We said, this week, I'm going to focus and accomplish these following things. I'm going to commit to those and hold each other accountable. We did that for a full year. So I'll say, you're going to feed your mind and you want to be a creator of the things you want in your life. Find a person, it could be anybody, but find a person that you can literally make commitments towards, things that are going to make your life better, and hold each other accountable. It's that simple. When I coach a company and there's a large group, I always say, find an accountability partner. That's all you need to do. Find an accountability partner. Find somebody that you meet with. Set a schedule. If it's every week, that's the best. Just every week, just go, we're going to meet this date at this time, put in your calendar, make a recurring event. And whether it's just a phone call or Zoom or whatever, if it can be in person, even better. But get together and just come up with at least 3 things you say, you know, this week I'm going to accomplish these 3 things. I'm committed to that. I want you to hold me accountable. I'm going to follow through. Even set up systems like, hey, if we can both do this for X period of time, let's go to a dinner together, right? Things like that. But you become the person who you feed your mind with, right? Become a creator of your future reality. And you can do that best by having somebody to partner along the way.